On today's episode of Locked On Coyotes, I am asking the question, has Sean Durzi's injury been mishandled by the Coyotes? And we will touch on what happened allegedly with Valimaki in a Dallas hospital. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I'm your host, Robyn Lamoureaux, alongside Matthew Jacobson. We want to thank everyone once again making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Let's get into this. It's a little bit of a bonus episode for you guys today, as we continue the train rolling, talking about what's going on at the Coyotes. And it's just kind of like a group of stuff that we didn't get a chance to touch on our preview and our overview of the breaking the win streak, as well as previewing the Ottawa game. There's some things we missed that we didn't get a chance to talk on, so we're going to talk about it on this bonus.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Jonathan Durzi, because this situation, I was actually doing a seat check at the arena whenever I was listening to the Boston game, and something that was said on the broadcast kind of really scratched my ear, as it were. So let's break it down very quickly. So in the game on the 4th against Washington, the game where Durzi gets his first assist in, I think it's 8 games. He was on quite a cold offensive streak. He gets injured, leaves the game, does not play against Philadelphia. They go to Boston. He does play. He registers 15 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time. Records 2 shots, has 17 total shifts. However, he was primarily out there for power play time. And when I know they were still doing the 11-7, but when it was specifically pointed out how he was pretty much just out there for the power plays, and how he had kind of gone back to the bench, back to the locker room throughout, that immediately perked up my ear. And I'm like, I really hope what I think I'm hearing isn't what I'm hearing. And then he's yet to play since, and it's official. He will not play as we're recording tonight against Ottawa. It's making me question, did they potentially mishandle this? And even though he's only listed as day-to-day right now, what ramifications could come there if this was mishandled?
Yeah, it certainly is a question to think about. And I think it's just it frustrates you to think about, because part of me thought I think those days are over, because I think a lot of you guys know I gave Rick Tocchet a lot of criticism for kind of bringing players back too early, or misusing the way players were coming back from injury, or any kind of aspect like that. And I'm like, it frustrated the hell out of me. Seeing that happen. And I thought we were kind of a little bit past that. And seeing a situation like this happening with Durzi, I'm just like, oh God, what's happening?
And I was fully on board with that too. I will I definitely was heated when it was at the end of the 18-19 season, and Stepan was talking about how he just put on a knee brace, went out there to play, and the dude could barely skate. I got clowned on for apparently I should go watch soccer if that's what I'm interested in, or something stupid like that, because I don't think that someone that could barely skate should just throw a brace on and go out there.
No,
because that's not only hurting the team, which it does,
it's hurting them
potentially
even more.
Hurts their long-term future. So I'm like, yeah,
not only that. I mean, again, say what you will about how tough hockey players are. Mm-hmm. It's complete on a related subject, but side note, if you've ever watched or read the article of or just the information that's been coming out of now former NHL players, or even some current NHL players, eventual dependent on opiates, it really frustrates me, because they're just taking painkillers to hide away pain from a potentially big injury. It's like, you know what? It's hockey. I'm supposed to be tough.
And here's like another thing is that players will always want to play. And one of like the most frustrating arguments that people would give me about back then were, oh well, if a guy wants to play, he's gonna play. That's not how that works. Guys always want to play. I having conversations just with a couple of goaltenders, they would play every night if they could. Connor Ingram would go out there all 82 if they let him do it. That would be disastrous, but that's players want to play. And hockey players specifically have shown time and time again for decades they're willing to put their team above their own body. Like we know this is what they do. That's why I put so much on the medical staff and the coaches, because at least the head coach, because the buck stops with the head coach. And if you want to make the argument that, well, if a player says he's ready, he's going to play, then the argument you're actually making is the coach lost the locker room and the players called the shots.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
No, it also, I feel like it also, is you're heavily reliant on the true medical advice of these team physicians. They have medical degrees for a reason. Like, they are telling you should not go out there and play. And they're like, again, yeah, sure, like a player / coach can technically override that decision, but you cannot be stupid enough to just to overlook what could potentially go wrong.
So that's why I wanted to bring it up on the show, because I think it's an important question to ask here. We obviously are not in the locker room. It very much could have been he needed to sit the one game and he was feeling fine and tweaked something else or re-aggravated it. That does happen. That does not necessarily mean that he was rushed back. However, considering he goes out there, relatively sheltered minutes, it's even mentioned on the broadcast that he's kind of playing through it a little bit, and he still went back out there for a power play after that was mentioned. And let's see, that was the Boston game, so he missed the back-to-back. He missed both back. He's missed 4 games. He's going to miss a 5th game. That's why I'm a little concerned, and I wanted to bring it up here, because it could, again, fully acknowledging, it could have been he was given the okay, and it re-aggravated, or something else got hurt.
Yeah,
that happened.
To me, in regarding specifically this Durzi situation, it seems very well that it's something else, was tweaked. It very well could have been related to the previous injury, because something kind of spread or to kind of like lead to other things, but it wasn't the same injury. So like, yeah, sure. So like that, they're probably like, hey, how's this? Like, oh, I feel fine. This feels fine. But then you skate out. It's like, oh, now my, like for example, let's say your knee. Oh, my knee feels great. And then you go out and all of a sudden your hip starts to hurt as hell. Like, yeah, sure. It's both. It's in the same leg, and there could be a correlation. But like, when you're asked about how your knee was, you're not like, you don't know how your hip was.
True. That's why I also wanted to acknowledge it could have been he got the clear for that one injury and something else happened, because that does happen. It's a fast physical game.
And again, so there's only so much that we can say that actually happened, or like that, as much as we, as the little that we know. It's all
because they're not going to give us the X-rays.
No,
we're not looking at that.
Plus, let's be real. Do we even know what we're looking for?
True. Like you can give me the source code to a proprietary operating system. Doesn't mean I'm going to be able to read it or know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, but I will say this, like, maybe if anything, we could hear this, what the opinions of medical staff were. And again, they're not going to give that to us either. But like, it would have been nice to at least get an understanding of what's going on.
I wish I knew more. It's kind of like
a little bit more. Right, it's just it doesn't surprise me that NHL teams are usually very quiet about how injuries are handled. A lot of it is done internally, and they don't want to reveal anymore.
And look, he's missed, what is that, 4 of the last 5. He's going to miss 5 of 6 because he missed the Philadelphia game and then the last 4. So he's missed. Yeah, so that's 5 of the last 6. He's going to miss 6 of the last 7. it's definitely not insignificant. So
Right.
just wanted to bring it up here, get your guys' thoughts on this, ponder it a little bit, and pretend to do. I'm not a journalist. That requires like a lot of work and a lot of education for it, formal training. But I want to at least attempt to do a little bit of the journalisms.
Oh, you're telling me I had to put my journalism degree to use?
Yeah, you're the one paying off those loans. You better put it to use. Anyway, we got to take a break real quick before we talk about Yuso Valimaki. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL season stays hot on FanDuel. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning money line bet. That is right, $150 if the Cardinals can win anything this season. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get into the action. The app is so easy to use with a wide range of betting options from spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, let's continue, Matthew, this episode of Locked On Coyotes. Talking a little bit about the Yusa Valimaki situation, because I feel the way our episodes are released, it kind of all came during a time in which we weren't able to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's something that, it was, it's getting a little dated now, the information, but I feel like it's important to talk about it because the Valimaki situation, I think, at least for still quite a while, it's going to question a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of question marks of what happened here.
Yeah, and for context, like I saw Craig Morgan's tweet before I left for work, but there was no further context. I didn't know really what he was talking about, and the live stream was going to be until after I left anyway. I, on the personal channel, had to make a bonus video in the backseat of my car, like to cover this. Like, that's how tight the window was here for this information. And so what allegedly happened is he takes that puck to the face against in Dallas, takes him to the hospital. This ended up requiring, I think, 55 stitches. So this was not insignificant. I gave the example of my hand. I got a small cut that needed 2 stitches. Cut wasn't even that deep. This is like 50 more. This was a deep cut. And he was allegedly, they're waiting. Apparently everyone was busy. Trauma cases. I think they specifically mentioned a gunshot case.
Yeah, they moved him down in the priority list because there were other patients coming into the ER who were, in more critical condition.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting given that you look at, knowing again very well what the speed of a puck to your mouth is and what it does to your jaw,
and that blood is coming out.
Yeah,
like it's not a trickle. It was a lot of blood.
Yeah, and there had to be a whole lot to it. I know a lot of people out there. There were not. I say a lot of people out there. There were some people initially who were blaming the Dallas Stars medical staff. The Dallas Stars medical staff did a fine job getting him to where he needed to be. But the problem is, once you get there, they are no longer certified in that specific hospital, so they can't do anything else.
Yeah, you bring him to the hospital has to take it from there. It's just that allegedly Yuso, he was there with a Coyotes employee and his wife who was on the road trip, allegedly was told to just go to the hotel and sleep it off. This is not hyperbole. This is a realistic statement. He could have died if you sleep on it. All the blood.
They said
things going to happen. Infections, a lot of stuff. He could have died. And the fact that allegedly, I'm sticking with that word as heavily as I can because we're on this bigger show and we don't want to anger any litigious individuals, but allegedly was just told, go away. That is a huge potential violation of a Hippocratic oath to treat people, and also that is just unacceptable how he was allegedly treated, and it required 50 stitches, I think 55 specifically. That is not insignificant. Look, I need to calm down a little bit because he's fine. He lived. It's just the fact that like this, I'm reading it on paper. I wasn't there to hear how it was said. It feels callous and cold, and like they didn't want to do
The
their damn
events,
job.
the events that led up to it lead to so many question marks. Like, how did that happen? And again, like you said, you're right. Hospitals do have to make a quote judgment call on the severity of cases.
Mhm.
Yet when we find out that, at first it kicked down low in the priorities because they thought it was bad, but then, the doctor that finally did end up taking him in was like, well, good thing we got you now, because if you were out there like 2 hours longer, yeah, you could have died.
So it's just it is frustrating. Like again, we don't really know these people. Yuso's not my best friend. We're not frolicking in the flowers together. But the fact that someone I cheer for, I cover professional level, like was allegedly mistreated to that degree with blood coming out of his face and could have ended a lot worse. It very much frustrates me. And yes, there is a little bit of the aspect of the people that can't read, and it proves it. Nobody will read the article. You read the headline and make your assumptions from there. We're blaming the Coyotes medical staff when this
Yeah,
this
no,
was at the hospital.
that 100% is another thing that we also have to dismiss on that part.
Mhm.
If you are a NHL fan or a hockey fan who likes to, talk low on the Coyotes any point you get, those that comment on our YouTube channel, you know who you are. I won't talk about you guys specifically, but you guys know who you are.
I won't talk about you specifically, but you know who you are.
You have to understand, based off what, like I said, like if anything, a lot of like I said, the thing goes on would technically a little bit more towards that Dallas staff, but the Dallas staff did a fine job. The Coyotes medical staff wasn't there because the medical staff falls under whoever's hosting the game. So both teams would be reporting to the Dallas staff.
And also, it's 100% on the hospital, not the Dallas medical
exactly.
staff.
No,
I know
exactly.
you said that, but I just want to make sure that that's
No,
reiterated.
no.
Like, this was not the Dallas medical staff.
Yeah, it was not the Dallas medical staff. But it did need to be said that the Arizona Coyotes medical staff isn't there, and any away team medical staff isn't there at away venues because the home team medical staff has it taken care of, at least for that first aspect. For the initial aspect, until a player needs to get transported to the hospital, and like what you said, then the transfer of care goes to the hospital.
Do you guys want actually an example before we hit the break and then talk about the World Junior stuff? You guys want an example? So that meme where Jacob Chikrin went into the Dallas locker room, that was because he was going to get stitches from the Dallas medical staff.
Yeah,
because you don't have your own medical staff there. You might have like one trainer, but like you're not gonna have your whole medical staff.
Trainer, someone who might be just like a let's say like a general practitioner or whatever, someone who like just overlooks your general health and be like, yeah, you're good. But none of the other like your dental, like your dentist or your or anybody else like that. Anyone else who's like specialist, no, they're staying home.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that we're doing the proper thing, proper coverage. The Dallas Stars medical staff did nothing wrong.
They did an admirable job as much as they could.
And allegedly, if that's how it was handled at the hospital, some people need to be fired because, frankly, that is such an important aspect to our society that you need people that are going to be on their best like 98% of the time working in those positions because it literally could mean life or death. Like it actually is a serious situation.
Yeah. One more thing I will say about it. I know in the initial hours since after that article and that information about this whole thing and then coming out, the biggest dish that people were talking low on actually wasn't either medical staff or even necessarily. It was actually on the American healthcare system.
That's a can of worms for another day.
But
let's get into the break before we talk about the World Juniors, Robyn.
You're right. I just felt like I had to say. I just had to say that's what people were saying. I'm not saying I'm
shoot the one last shot.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying People were saying that.
For legal purposes, I said nothing. I just said people said no. But I get it. I get it. We do have to
Exactly.
take a break though.
We do have to take a break to talk about the World Juniors in a little bit, though. But first, a quick word from our sponsors on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. With the holidays coming up, I know Christmas is just around the corner. Maybe you need to find a last-minute ticket for that sports fan friend or that music friend or that family member, significant other, whatever it might be. Game Time is the ticketing app to check out because they do ticketing like no other app. Because they got last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets of every kind of event in your area. So not just sports, but concerts, as well as comedy shows. Think anything you can. Game Time is very well likely to have it. You can easily find those tickets, views from seats in your venue, lowest price guarantee, and event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. They got all-in pricing, so you can see your total up front. So you're not going to get surprised by hidden fees at the end of your checkout. It's all in there, so you know exactly what you're going to pay right up front. Game Time has all deals on tickets from right up to the start of the event. They have like those last-minute deals that really make it great. Even in the hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals, sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time today and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right.
End the show off with a fun note, Robin.
Let's definitely
end. A very
end.
brief fun note.
I know we talked about two injury stuff that it's not fun to talk about, but let's get to some high stuff to go to because two Coyotes prospects have officially been loaned on over to be able to participate in what I believe, Matthew. This is my personal belief. I think a lot of people can agree with me on this, but what I believe is one of the greatest hockey tournaments out there.
I'm going to stick with the Desert Hockey Classic, but that's because I'm a major homer. Anyway.
No, but that's...
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, so Logan Cooley will not be participating. Bill Armstrong already spoiled the fun. What was it, a week ago?
It was a while ago.
No, we're not.
It was a while ago.
We won't be alone.
That was a minute ago. Absolutely not. Come on. Logan Cooley is too good for the World Juniors. Let's be real.
Let's not say too good for it because the kid needs to learn to shoot a little bit at this level, but I don't think playing against 18, 19-year-olds is going to fix it.
Let me rephrase it a little bit more. He is better served spending as much time with the Coyotes as possible rather than playing for Team USA in the World Junior Championship.
Well, we do got a couple good Canadian boys, though. We got defenseman Mavereric Lamoureaux and forward Connor Geekie. Want me to just briefly give their stats so everyone has a point of view, or not point of view, just a little brief window. So with the I cannot say the city name. He's playing for the Wilds in the WHL. Connor Geekie,
Wenatchee or whatever. Wenatchee.
I'm the former Winnipeg Ice. 26 games, 20 goals, 29 assists for 49 points.
Wenatchee. There you go.
Wenatchee. Connor Geekie, I stand by. I was high on him when they drafted him. Right now, he is showing a lot of that upside. It still needs to translate to higher levels, but we're seeing a lot of good out of him this year. And then Lamoureaux, who he started off last year injured. So far, he's still playing with Drummondville. 25 games, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points. He is a above a point per game player, and I'm looking at his stats for his time in the queue. That is the first time that's happened, that he's maintained that. Both of those draft picks that were controversial are looking good at this moment in December of 2023, Robin. They're looking okay.
They are looking okay, and I feel like the Coyotes got a little bit of criticism for those 2 draft picks. Not as much as they got criticism for these most 2 recent first round draft picks in Shimashev and Boot, but they still got some criticism. They're like, I feel like Geekie was picked a little high. Lamoureaux, I think, is definitely more of a second rounder than the first rounder. Say what you will, but they're developing nicely, and I feel like they're going to get another good look in the U20's biggest stage.
Yeah, and I will not be watching because I don't pay for cable. I'm just gonna be watching Godzilla reruns. But I will be cheering. We will be cheering from the Desert Forum. So
I will be
Geeks,
watching what
Mav,
I can.
Robyn pays for a little more stuff that I'm willing to. But Geeks, Mav, we're rooting for you, and we wanted to end this episode on some light note because when we're getting into injury conspiracies, it's better to end with a couple of kids getting to represent the country.
Definitely good to talk about. It's good because we also want to talk about the future of this team, right? We talked about earlier in today's main episode. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to our preview for the Ottawa game and talk about their breaking their losing streak. But this team is trending in the right direction. But I still feel like taking a look at the prospects is still super important because the team is still technically a rebuilding team. They still have a long way to go. They are ahead of schedule, but they still have a long way to go. Geekie and Lamoureaux are 2 pieces that, are pretty likely to be fitting into there a few years down the road.
Yeah, I can see them both making it, but time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. Any final thoughts before we close things off?
Would be pretty cool if we get some more Coyotes with some hardware.
Right? Be so nice. Just to see more of that. And then I get to talk about the Coyotes players and their prospects getting more respect because they deserve it.
Would be kind of cool. Get her done, boys.
Anyway, that's going to be it for today's bonus episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, and subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube, SiriusXM, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Also, don't forget to check out Locked On Sports Today and their 24/7 live streaming channel. We get a chance to hear from all of the national shows: Locked On NHL, Locked On MLB. Literally anything you can think of, all going 24/7 on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Just be sure to check it out. I highly recommend it. But for here on Locked On Coyotes, interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matt Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us. Ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys staying safe out there. Hope you guys staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.